It's time for match days 3 and 4 in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, which means more predictions to see how this table continues to unfold down in South America. Guys, Matty G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get to it. All right, guys, so if you didn't see the first video we did a while ago on match days 1 and 2, we did our predictions, set our own table to see how things would unfold. And as you can see on the left, that's what our predictions had for through the first 10 games. Meanwhile, on the right is the official table. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue that trend moving forward with this qualifying process, continue to predict games, see how our table unfolds with our predictions based off what happens in real time with the real life results, and see how they compare as time moves forward. Opening up with our first match on October 12th between Colombia and Uruguay. Uruguay punished Colombia in this fixture during the last cycle with a 3-0 win. However, Colombia edged out Uruguay in penalties in the 2021 Copa America quarterfinal. Both sides have looked solid so far. They got off to a good start here in this qualification process, each with 3 points, but then a bit of a hiccup in their second game. I do believe we'll see both of these sides in the top half of the table for a good portion of this qualifying process, but I do have the two of them ending in a draw in this fixture. Next game up, we have Bolivia taking on Ecuador. Ecuador have won the last 5 games between these two sides. Meanwhile, Bolivia have lost 4 of their last 5. Ecuador finally getting out of their negative point start with a result in their second game. Meanwhile, Bolivia, of course, having to start off with Brazil and Argentina, just a daunting task to begin World Cup qualifying. Hopefully this is a fairly tight game, but again, even though Ecuador lost to Argentina in their opening match 1-0, I thought they played well and had some really good chances. I think in the end, Ecuador are able to take all 3 points and might have to wait until late to finally get it done, but I do believe they'll be able to get the win in this fixture. On to Argentina and Paraguay. Paraguay missed out on a huge opportunity for 3 points against Peru, who were down to 10 men in that game, and then they go on to lose against Venezuela in their second fixture for this qualifying process. Their last 2 qualifiers that these two teams have faced off against were both draws. Meanwhile, both sides have not been able to score more than 1 goal in their last 5 meetings against one another. Again, the loss for Paraguay to Venezuela is huge and a really concerning start for them. I do believe we'll see Argentina be able to bag at least more than 1 goal in this game. Hopefully Paraguay plays well, but I do have Argentina taking the result. Now on to Chile and Peru. Usually the recent fixtures between these two sides have been comfortable 2- and 3-0 wins. Peru have won 3 of the last 5 in this tie. I think both sides are able to score in this fixture. We saw Chile have a lot of good chances against Colombia and just struggle to convert. Meanwhile, Peru fought hard against Brazil, but were unable to come up with at least a point there. I think this is a really important game for both sides. I think, again, they both get on the score sheet, but this one ends in a draw. Well, you look at this fixture on paper and think it should be pretty easy to predict. However, Brazil just won this fixture 1-0 during the last cycle, with Firmino scoring a goal in the second half to give them the lead and the win. Venezuela had a big win to open up their account during this cycle against Paraguay, as we spoke before, in their second game. But I do believe Brazil still is able to wear down Venezuela, especially in the second half. I think they'll have a good majority of possession in this game as well, and should win comfortably considering that they are at home as well. Now moving on to match day number 4, beginning on October 17th between Venezuela and Chile. Of course, the last time these two met, Chile wound up winning 3-0, but the last time these two faced off during the World Cup cycle in the previous tournament, Venezuela would win that game 2-1 back in 2020. I think the fact that Venezuela are coming off of an impressive win at home against Paraguay, and Chile have struggled to convert their chances both at home and on the road, could raise some questions in this fixture. I think Chile will have a good majority of possession and control the tempo in this one, but I think it will be difficult for both sides to score, knowing that this is a pretty important tie between the two of them. So I'm actually going to have these two ending up in a draw to close out this second stint of games. Up next, we have Paraguay taking on Bolivia. This was a tough fixture during the last cycle with a 2-2 draw, despite Paraguay dominating in possession and in shots. A fairly similar story to what they've had in a couple of their games thus far in this cycle. However, Bolivia would crush them in the return leg 4-0 at home, and we've talked about how important points are at home for all of these teams, but especially those that are usually at the bottom of the table, and how important these games are to try and help themselves get pushed up just just a little bit more. Again, Bolivia have really gotten off to a tough start. Again, having to face, though, Brazil and Argentina. I'm just not 100% sure I'll see a big turnaround in this game, especially being on the road. Paraguay know that they have got to start converting their chances, that they've really let some points slip here early on. I think they're focused and tuned in for this one. I think they do get the result and pick up a massive 3 points. Now, on to Ecuador versus Colombia. It was an absolute thrashing the last time these two met in this fixture during the 2020 year in World Cup qualifying. A 6-1 win for Ecuador. Even though Colombia have won 3 of the last 5 meetings against these two sides, Ecuador have taken points in both of the previous World Cup qualifying fixtures. I think Colombia needs a fast start in this game, especially considering the last time these two faced off in this fixture, Ecuador had 2 goals inside the first 10 minutes. Again, I think we'll see Colombia off to a fast start. I think this will be a very high-paced game with a lot of good chances coming from both sides, a very open game. But I do have Ecuador getting the job done. I think they've just looked really good moving the ball forward. They've been certainly very hungry in the final third, and I think they're going to be able to get the job done here at home against Colombia. As for Uruguay taking on Brazil, it was a 6-1 aggregate in favor of Brazil during their last 2 World Cup qualifying games. This fixture really has been a struggle for Uruguay in recent memory, including even just their last meeting getting beat 4-1, being outshot 22-5. Cavani himself had a red card in their last World Cup qualifier, but Uruguay have been strong recently, had a nice little winning streak going before Ecuador ended it in their last game. As for Brazil, they've looked really strong against other South American foes, especially in qualifying. They usually get off to a fast start, but they've had 2 hiccups against 2 African opponents in friendlies recently against Senegal and Morocco. I don't think that they'll have those same troubles this time around, even though they are on the road. I think Uruguay at least need to really put together a good performance. They could certainly get a win or a draw out of this game, but I do have Brazil taking all 3 points. Last but not least, a fixture between Peru and Argentina, where Argentina have dominated this game, especially recently in the last 5 matchups. Peru have only scored once in those previous 5 games during a 2-2 draw. Peru really have been tough to beat at home. They played well against Brazil in that game, even though they wound up losing in the end. I think Argentina will find a way in this game. I think it will be a struggle for them as well at times. I think we'll see a similar game to the one they had against Ecuador to open up this qualifying campaign, maybe with a goal late. Hopefully Messi's able to go in that one, and we see a really strong Argentina side, but I think they're able to get the job done, especially in the second half. But keep an eye out for Peru. They definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to pick up at least a point out of this game, or maybe even shock everyone and collect a win. But for right now, I still have Argentina taking all 3 points. All right, so after all of that, here's an updated look at our table after match days 3 and 4 with Brazil and Argentina controlling this table at the top, each with 12 points. Then quite a distance all the way back down to third with Colombia and Uruguay, each with 5 points. Peru, Venezuela, Paraguay, you can debate that how you like in terms of goal differential, where they should be standing. But at the moment, that's just what we've got. Each of them with 4 points, all sitting in a decent position in 5th, 6th, and 7th. Meanwhile, Chile in 8th, Venezuela in 9th, and Bolivia still down at the bottom in 10th. Now, keep in mind, of course, again, on the right-hand side is still an official look at the table currently after match days 1 and 2. And again, we'll compare these side by side once the fixtures of match day 3 and 4 conclude, and then we'll come back and see how this all compares. But currently, that's what we've got right now after 4 games in South American qualifying. All right, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And please let us know down in the comments as well your own predictions, who you're rooting for. And make sure you mark your calendars for November 16th and the 21st for when match day 5 and 6 come along. That will be the last 2 that we see during this calendar year before we have to wait until next September for match days 7 and 8. But we've got plenty more coming your way with CONCACAF, Euros, and more throughout the rest of the world. So make sure you guys stay tuned. But have a blessed day, and we will see you soon. Peace.